In this week's video, we're going to be slowing things down a bit. We're taking a train trip, a 22-hour train trip, up the west coast of the United States from San Francisco to Seattle. Let's see what it's like in the cheapest seats, dive into why anybody would make this trip, and learn a little bit about World War II and the first intercontinental weapons. All right, so we're at the Emeryville Amtrak station. Catching a 22-hour train today. I'm doing this in a coach seat. I'm not going to say I'm excited, but see what happens. I don't know, 5 pounds. So I'm supposed to be catching the Coast Starlight.
Gentlemen, this is the Coast Starlight.
I'm not a train guy. All the way from LA to Seattle. It's like a 36-hour train ride. It's supposed to be one of the more beautiful routes you can take on Amtrak, but it rained a bit.
This morning, California is still dealing with damage from the powerful atmospheric river battering the state.
It also meant that they weren't running the train, or at least they cancelled my train. Didn't matter, I was in San Francisco anyway, and this is now where it's starting from instead of starting from LA. It's now a 22-hour train ride. We're leaving at 10 o'clock at night. We'll get to Seattle at 7:30 p.m. tomorrow night.
If you have a coach seat, please walk up track 1.
Something's actually happening. I was losing hope there for a second. I completely messed up the audio here, but the boarding process was all pretty normal. There's no assigned seating in coach. Instead, the guy at the door checks your ticket and then gives you a card with your seat number on it. He tells you to take good care of this card because he'll be back for it soon. You go, find your seat, put your bags away, and then just before the train leaves, he comes back through the cabin to collect those cards and to make sure that everybody's in their assigned seat, I guess. I thought this was a little bit kindergartenish, but then also it tells you that they must have had issues with this in the past. Luckily, on this trip for me, I had nobody next to me. I think the whole train was about half full, to be honest, because of the floods. So pretty much everybody had a free seat next to them to spread out. This made it significantly nicer than if I did have somebody sitting next to me. It would have been a pretty rough trip if there was a stranger right there. Alright, so we're on board. We're moving. I'm upstairs, got free seats around me. Yeah, I'm out of it. We'll be back. We'll be back in the morning. Of course, we can't go forgetting about my team! Royal Jordanian.
Proper oral hygiene stimulates more than just your gums.
We'll probably get more water if I needed it.
He's sleeping.
Please.
I think I probably woke up 5 to 10 times throughout the night just from the train stopping or other random sounds and things like that. But the first big stop, the first fresh air break, was at a place called Klamath Falls in Oregon. Just because we're catching a train doesn't mean that we're not going to go on a few tangents. Klamath Falls. It's a small town. It's located about 10 miles north of the California-Oregon border. It's got a population of around 20 to 21,000. It's a nice place, but there's a pretty intriguing and tragic piece of history nearby that I don't think many people know about. About 30 miles east of Klamath Falls is a place called Bly. And something pretty shocking happened here during World War II. On May 5th of 1945, a woman and 5 children were killed during a church outing. The cause? It was a Japanese Fugo balloon bomb. This event is believed to be the only instance of civilian casualties on the US mainland during World War II. So what were Fugo balloon bombs? During the war, Japan devised an ingenious yet pretty sinister plan to create hydrogen-filled paper balloons. They were 10 meters in diameter and designed to carry up to 20 kilograms of explosives. The most common payload was TNT and thermite. The idea was both simple and audacious. Launch these balloons from Japan, where they would rise into the jet stream and be carried across the Pacific Ocean to North America. The goal was to cause fires, spread panic, and generally just wreak havoc. Over a 6-month period, the Japanese military launched 9,300 300 of these balloons. The balloons were surprisingly sophisticated for their time as well. They had an altitude control system that kept them within the jet stream at about 30 to 35,000 feet. If they rose too high, a valve would release some of the hydrogen to bring them back down. If they dipped too low, weighted sandbags would be dropped to lighten the load. This system kept the balloons cruising towards North America with travel times ranging from 30 to 100 hours, depending on wind speeds. What's even more fascinating is that these were some of the first ever weapons with intercontinental range, long before the advent of ballistic missiles. Despite the evil brilliance of the idea, the balloons were largely ineffective. Out of the thousands that launched, only 300 were ever reported being seen in the US, Mexico, or Canada, and even fewer caused any damage. One big reason for this was the timing. Most of the balloons were launched during the winter months, when much of North America's forests were damp or covered in snow. In January of 1945, the US Office of Censorship, yes, that did exist back in the day, issued a memo to newspaper editors and radio broadcasters asking them not to report on the balloon incidents, fearing that public knowledge could lead to panic. Amazingly, I guess from today's perspective, this media blackout was highly effective. The existence of these balloons remained largely unknown to the public until after the war. I guess they didn't really lead to intercontinental ballistic missiles. They probably would have been made either way, but I guess there's something for pub trivia. Who invented the first intercontinental weapon? It's Japan.
Good morning. It's 8:42 a.m. now. We just had our first fresh air break, which is where they just stop for 5 minutes. I think this whole thing would have been significantly better if I had a pillow. If I had like a second hoodie to make it a pillow, it would have been significantly more comfortable. But overall, it's generally fairly comfortable. Like, these foot pads come up, the seats do recline quite a lot. Not bad. It's 12:37. Okay, so we're about to pull into Eugene, Oregon. There's a bunch of lakes and stuff outside. It's been about 14 hours, and I think I've probably slept for 6 to 8 of them, and I'm feeling alright. I don't know, I found a pair of track pants, trackies, in my little suitcase that I brought on, so that kind of worked as a little makeshift pillow, and I'd say the second half of my sleep was significantly better. My neck feels a lot better. I just feel like obviously I'm sore, butt's kind of sore, my back's kind of sore just from sleeping in a seat.
My cheeks are sore.
We're already 2/3 in, you just sleep. It's great. I'm hesitant to say I'd do it again, but I'm not having anywhere near as bad times as I thought I would. When you're traveling in coach, you don't get the dining service, but there is a cafe somewhere. But I did bring some food. Honestly, it's a pretty terrible selection. I got baked peas, a couple of protein bars, and some blueberries. I don't know. I didn't get the $20 breakfast basically because I was asleep. But I think there was eggs and coffee and a muffin and stuff. A guy a few rows back just has a carton of milk. Just standard milk. I'm like, don't you have to keep that refrigerated?
Milk was a bad choice.
It's a good whole food, obviously. 1 liter of milk. Strange. People on the train, I feel like they're either very reasonable, normal people who just want to do it for the adventure, and then there's the interesting types, shall we say. I don't want to speculate, but they either couldn't afford the flight or they're on a no-flight list.
I've been thinking about this, and honestly, I don't think it even comes down to saving money. There are only 3 types of people who would opt to take the Amtrak. You either love trains, fair enough. You're scared of flying, again, fair enough. Or you're literally on the no-fly list. Because I just checked how much I paid for this whole trip. It was $119 USD. It's not even cheap. If you look at flights from San Francisco to Seattle, booked about a month in advance, you're looking at about $60 USD one-way non-stop. Sure, this doesn't include a checked bag, which is included with Amtrak, so you're adding another $30 for baggage. But even then, it's $90 USD total. And the flight is just a tad over 2 hours, saving you about 20 hours of travel time. So from a financial standpoint, this isn't the savvy choice at all. There is an argument that taking the train saves you a night's accommodation. Fair point, but even the cheapest hostel bed, say $40 a night, is probably... No, it's definitely more comfortable than this. I have gotten a better sleep in some of the worst hostels ever than on this train, but it was an experience and I kind of think you should try everything once.
Everything except that.
Our second fresh air break was in Eugene, Oregon. Now, I don't have any World War II trivia for you this time, but Eugene's got some interesting claims to fame. First off, it borders a town called Springfield.
In Springfield, they're eating the dogs, they're eating the cats. Eat the cat, eat the cat.
Not that Springfield, but it is the Springfield that Matt Groening, the creator of named the Springfield in the show after. It was a bit of a massive mystery for years, but he confirmed in 2012 during an interview with the Smithsonian that it was indeed Springfield, Oregon. Another interesting bit of history about Eugene, Oregon revolves around shoes and jogging. Before the 1960s, jogging really just wasn't a thing that people did as a leisure or fitness activity. But this all changed in Eugene thanks to Bill Bowerman, the track coach at the University of Oregon. In the early 60s, Bowerman visited New Zealand and met coach Arthur Lydiard, who started jogging clubs in New Zealand for regular folks. Inspired by this, Bowerman brought the concept back to Eugene, starting America's first jogging club in 1963. In 1966, he went on to co-author a book called Jogging, which played a big role in popularizing jogging throughout the country. It's also worth mentioning that Bowerman co-founded Nike right here in Eugene with Phil Knight.
Nike chairman, Mr. Phil Knight.
I guess getting people excited about jogging is pretty handy when you co-own a shoe company.
Hey guys, you caught me on my jog. Wow, what a segue. Anyway, ad time. All right, imagine this. You've just made it to Seattle and you've left your bag in Eugene, Oregon. I don't know how you did it. You don't know how you did it, but you've done it. And now you need to get back to Eugene as quickly as possible to get your bag. You check flights for the next day. Bam, it's $380 for the cheapest flight the next day to get you to Eugene, Oregon. Is there any other option? Lucky for you, there is a points reward seat the next day for 10,000 points and $6 in fees. Reward seats are often released last minute and they are a fixed price. Thanks to Flight Formula's Wine Tracker Plus tool, you've been getting alerted to the best wine deals as soon as they happen with our rapid email and text alerts. This meant that you're able to buy a bunch of wine pretty much just for the points. As soon as the deals came up, that 10,000 points cost you as little as $150 depending on which deal you bought. Look at you go. You're able to fly down to Eugene, Oregon, make sure your bag is safe and sound for less than half the price of a last-minute cash ticket. All thanks to Wine Tracker Plus. And airlines, and airports, and the magic of air travel, concrete, the internet, but mostly Wine Tracker Plus. Now, before my knees explode, let's get back to our regularly scheduled programming.
I think the sponsored content food then.
After our stop in Eugene, I was finally awake and ready to explore the train a bit. Let's start in the toilets.
All right, so we're in one of the toilets. They're all downstairs. This is actually the biggest one. This might be like the disabled toilet or something. The other ones were quite tiny, but here you can see we've got quite a bit of space to stretch out. They're a bit rough, a bit smelly, a little bit outdated. I mean, the seats on these trains are kind of all right. Like, they're not that old, they're kind of comfortable, but these toilets are definitely a little bit rougher. And yeah, like the tap it works, but it's one of these ones where you have to hold down the button in order to get it to keep on spitting out water, basically. So it's a bit of a pain to wash your hands with it. Definitely one of the weaker points of catching this train so far. Let's head out. So they've got like a bunch of them. I think they got like maybe 4 or 5 of them. That one that I was in was definitely the biggest. Not a great toilet experience. The views sort of make up for it. They don't. So the water is supposed to be drinkable. They've got like a drinking tap thing. I'm gonna drink it. Let's see how that works. So it works, but it's a very, very slow flow rate. Like this is gonna take a couple minutes just to fill up this 700ml bottle. That is literally taking an eternity. I only got it like halfway full too, so. I think it's time to go check out the cafe cart. I need like some coffee or something. Cheers, mate. This is sick. More water as well. Is better flowing? Oh, much better flowing. Alright. Okay, this one's really slow as well. Yeah, can I get that and a Coke Zero? Thanks. It was $12 all up. I got a Coke Zero and an Italian Stromboli. Never had one of these before. $12 total, including the tip. Basically bread with some meat inside. That's what this is. This is probably not good for me, but it tastes pretty good. It's all kind of really average quality stuff, but it's not that expensive, to be fair. So I'm gonna say the cafe cart's like alright on Amtrak. He was out of all the salads though, so I really like this cart. This is my favorite cart by a mile. It's just so pretty. Portland, Oregon. Alright, let's talk about the seat. Pretty good. This is flight formula, so we should probably compare it to an airline seat. The actual seat is probably sort of similar to a premium economy seat, or like a domestic business class seat, but with way more legroom and way more recline. Pretty comfortable, generally. All around it's probably better than expected, just. It's 4:36, and then we've got about 3 hours till we get to Seattle. So we've just passed through Portland. I mean, it's definitely a long trip. Probably gone by a bit quicker than I thought it would. I guess, honestly, I thought this would be bad, like sucky bad. In reality, it's been not too bad. Also, the dining cart thing, I think I could do it, because I think it was $20 for breakfast, $25 for lunch. It's $45 for dinner. So people in coach can actually reserve a dining room time. You know, this isn't luxury this time. This is me doing normal travel. Well, welcome back to my hotel room. Yeah, had some time to reflect on that one, and would I do it again? Probably not. I definitely wouldn't do a 22-hour overnight one again. Look, I would do 24 hours if I had a room or a roomette or a bed and a bathroom sort of thing. Basically, to wrap up all my thoughts about it, the seat was probably better than I expected, more legroom than I expected. It reclined a lot more than I expected, and if I did bring like a pillow or more hoodies that I could, scrunch up into making a pillow, it would have been a pretty comfortable sleep, I think. You're still getting woken up all the time when it stops at stations. People are talking. All sorts of weird sounds are going on. You're on a train. Like, it's not going to be a good night's sleep. But this was my first time ever doing like a long distance train trip, and I really enjoyed it. I didn't really enjoy it, but it was better than I expected. It's a bit disappointing that it started from San Francisco and we didn't get the full 36 hours or 34 hours. But in hindsight, that would have been really rough. Something a bit different. Not exactly flight formula. We're doing some trains, but don't worry, we're getting back to flying in the next video. Check out flightformula.com for aviation stuff, flight stuff, not much train stuff, I'll be honest. Cool. I'll see you guys all in the next one. Bye.
So, what kind of business did you have in Japan?
I've never been to Japan.